Alright, let's play a game. How many views do you think this AMV has? The view answer 5,200,000. Well, congratulations, you were wrong by an order of magnitude. The answer is 58 million. Have you ever finished an anime and thought, damn, that was pretty good? I mean, not as good as I expected, but I mean, it's alright. But months and even years after finishing the last episode, you still found yourself thinking about it. That show might not have had the most epic fight, or the saddest death, or the most profound scene, but for one reason or another, it has still found a way to etch itself into your memory. Okay, so what does it have to do with AMVs? Well, if you've ever watched an anime music video, or even a little bit of anime, odds are you've heard of Violet Evergarden and all of the praise that it has gotten for being a masterpiece. Something that makes you simultaneously bowl your eyes from the story and not from the visuals. Now, I know that saying Violet Evergarden is special is a take that's as hot as the South Pole, but when I first watched it, I was not buying any of it. It was like 2 PM on a Saturday and it had me like,
yes, that's right. I can't say that I completely understand, but I think I can
so I dropped it. But for some reason, random scenes from the anime just kept popping up in my mind over and over again. So 9 months later, I rewatched it.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as fuck.
Aside from the episode 10, I had no strong feelings for it. I mean, yeah, the visuals were insane, the music was insane, the direction was insane, the dude was insane, but it didn't quite have the impact on me I was anticipating. But I still kept on thinking about it, and only now, after rewatching it once again 2 years later and seeing the movies for the first time, do I understand why people love this show so much. And when I say that, it's easy to attribute its success to the technical aspects of the show. The glorious, vivid visuals that burst with detail. The animation that simultaneously manages to depict both the rhythmic clatter of typewriter keys and chaotic battles with hundreds of troops and artillery involved. The music that is so incredible that even if you remove the animation and art, it alone would spark talks around the show. But I'd like to think that the reason I kept remembering it is because it spoke to me on a deeply profound level, even if at the time I didn't quite understand what exactly it tried to say. Because think, isn't today easier than ever to lose your way in life when everything around you seems to move so fast? We weren't built for that. Our caveman brains are constantly stuck at max capacity. And I feel like I'm not alone in saying that when the world moves so fast and you just wish you could hit the pause button for a second to collect yourself, but it only picks up speed, it's easy to get swept away, to lose sight of the precious things and aspirations we once held so dear. And this is exactly where Violet starts. Orphaned at a young age, she only ever knew the purpose and structure of following orders and mowing down armies. But now that the war is over and the only person who gave her life any meaning, Major Gilbert, is nowhere to be found, she finds herself completely lost in this new world. She gets adopted by a rich family, a chance to start anew as a noble lady, but it still doesn't sit right with her. She wants to find her major, and she wants to understand what his last words meant. Luckily, fate intervenes. A friend of Gilbert's, Claudia, is starting a postal company, and since most people can't string together a sentence at this age, the company needs autumn memory dolls, basically fancy letter writers who put people's feelings into words. And so, Violet, the soldier girl who wouldn't know emotions if they bit her on her metal arm, is given a chance to come to terms with the loss of her major and find a new value in her life working for this company. Now hold on a second, something smells fishy about this guy. What? This is the voice actor of Dio! Yes, the cliché of a bond, an intimate connection getting torn apart by war, is the most overused trope in writing. But I think too often we forget that at the heart of every great story lies a cliché. It's rarely the exact message that will dictate whether a story becomes an enthralling ride or an utter disappointment. It's always the kind of places and context we put those clichés into that transform them from obnoxious Christian parables you've heard 1,000 times into a powerful message that sticks with you. When you see a movie like Interstellar, you don't write off the feelings you felt while watching it because it's a space exploration cliché centered around the importance of family and the ramifications of heroic self-sacrifice. We don't brush off something like Harry Potter because it's about a battle between good and evil. Think of any great film that has in some way impacted you, and I guarantee that the core message behind it is a cliché. Uncontrolled technological progress is bad. Blood is thicker than water. You can't find happiness in material things. I could go on, and I'm not a big movie guy, but but this is a trend you see in every medium. It's how creative you are when trying to say something and what you focus on that matters the most in creating a compelling plot. And the things that Violet Evergarden chooses to focus on are words. Okay, initially this seems like the most boring thing you could have chosen, but in many ways, seeing Violet uncover each and every aspect of using them in letters layer by layer is exactly what makes this such a heartfelt story. And if you think about it, it's a beautiful parallel, really, between Violet Evergarden the character and Violet Evergarden the show. Both try to translate complex emotions into not just words with their direct meanings, but a story with an impact that extends beyond the dry lines. The goal isn't to read you another lecture on how I love you has many meanings, or that words alone, no matter how precise and structured, can convey the full feelings, but to make you rediscover it, see it, hear it, feel it through the eyes of Violet. But I get it. Violet is a very difficult character to relate to when she starts off playing Patrick Star, not being able to understand people's feelings. The relationship she has with Major Gilbert is quite difficult to completely understand, let alone relate to. And when the show is a slow burn where nothing else aside from Violet interacting with other people and thinking of her major happens, it's not hard to see why people, including me at first, found the show so fake and dull. But to me at least, it's this careful consideration of time and its consistency that lets Violet's sometimes tender and sometimes violent growth as a person feel so real and powerful. She starts out as this machine, lost in this world, trying to understand what something silly like I love you means, failing to get a clue, and being an outright dick to people about their feelings. And yet instead of rushing it and making her understand the intricacies of emotions and words in a couple of episodes, the show takes us on these journeys with her, both grand and small, to see how incredible people from all corners of this world change Violet, and maybe more importantly how Violet changes them and their lives. Each episode feels like its own little universe that takes place somewhere in this massive world, and the struggles these characters deal with, from trivial to deeply dramatic, feel just as real as many challenges we find in our own lives. From dealing with a block to feeling like you need to do something to come to terms with an event in your life, worrying about a close one that distances themselves, dealing with family expectations when all you wanna do is just live a life, or upholding a smile when on the inside you're coming apart at the seams. The show doesn't say that words can heal or hurt or are important. It makes you see that. Violet comes up with all these silly things to say and ideas to connect people. Burning emotions get translated into as little as a single sentence that couldn't be more accurate and on point. When you experience these things, they plaster this big smile on your face that doesn't get wiped off for the rest of the episode you're watching. Seeing Violet grow through this grandiose growth that goes on for several years of her life, and in the process turn her life around from being someone who extinguished countless flames of life to now carefully reigniting them one by one, leaves you with a very fuzzy feeling that I can't quite put into words. But it is these inconspicuous moments that, looking back, hit me so much harder than I initially thought they did. And what I think it boils down to is the desire to experience a story about feeling lost in life, being overwhelmed by the ever-changing world, trying to be the best versions of ourselves, and seeking someone who makes you feel comfortable, that makes the show so beautiful. So sure, maybe it were the gorgeous visuals that edged their way into my memory. Maybe it was the stellar music that found its way into my heart. But I want to believe that why I remember the show so vividly is because of this powerful reminder that at the core of every message, no matter how cliché or original, lies a tangled web of feelings that, when translated perfectly into words, has this incredible ability to connect people and reignite their hopes in place of despair, passion in place of chaos, and even life in place of loss.
You have a client waiting.
All right. I'm coming.
This is all I wanted to say here. I'm not sure if I ended up doing anything other than blabbing on that, hey, this is a really famous show and I think it's good, but despite all of its flaws in writing and the weaker aspects of the show, no matter how hard I try to forget it, I can't. One day, I hope I'll be able to lay out emotions on paper just as fluently as Violet does it, because on that day, I dream of connecting with people from all around the world, talking about all sorts of weird and nerdy stuff, arguing over silly things, laughing until our sides hurt, and maybe, just maybe, crying together. And perhaps that's why I find Violet Evergarden unforgettable.